You're listening to Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran Podcast.
Now introducing your host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran, the one-man show, Brian Roof.
Hey, what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Every Day's a Saturday. Another great day, and we got another great interview ahead of us. I can't believe we are on interview 99. This is crazy to me. We've made it this far, and I can't thank everybody out there enough for following along, bearing with me. I know when I first started off, I was audio only, and I eventually progressed into video and tried to make this show as good as I can and give you guys the best quality that I can. And bringing on amazing guests like my next guest. My next guest served his country for over 20 years in the United States Navy. He was a seaman for 20 years. Can you believe that? And, when he got out, didn't stop there, still supporting his community, started a podcast called Mil2Vet, and he's here to talk all about it. His name is Chris Elder. What's going on, brother?
What's up, brother? Hey, thanks for having me on here, Brian. Big fan of your podcast. I've definitely enjoyed some of the guests that you've had on here, and it's awesome to be number 99. I like to say I got 99 problems, but this veteran ain't one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do like that one, bro. That is one of those catchy ones for sure. Man, dude, I've got to know you kind of through other podcasts. I've also become a fan of your guys' podcast as well. I think it's a absolute informational for people that are, separating, getting out of the military. Get so much information, dude, because you yourself, got out not too long ago. You did the full 20 years, which is quite amazing because during your 20 years of time, a lot of stuff that was going on in our world, and you guys were having to support. So let's get to know all about you, bro. Where you kind of grew up, what led you in to go to the Navy recruiter, and what job did you choose while you're in and do the 20-year stint, man?
Yeah. Well, Brian, I originally grew up in between Houston and Dallas, a place called Longview in Texas. And unfortunately, I got taken away from my mother at a young age. So I kind of bounced around between some family members for a little while until I landed in a place called Bothell, Washington. And I'm very blessed because I had some awesome people in my life. Now, a typical kid getting in trouble when he doesn't have supervision. I actually got saved by my recruiter because um, his name is Alvin Lewis, and he pretty much spoke to the people that were. I did something that was not very good. Right, I was a troubled youth. I was getting in trouble, and he went up to bat for me, and he put his own reputation out there. And essentially, after that, it was done. I joined the Navy. I signed paperwork when I was 17, when I was still a senior in high school. And ever since then, I never looked back. I joined the military running away from becoming a statistic, becoming a kid who should have never been a success at all. And somebody that's grown up in a broken home, and then they find the military, they grow up in the places that they should have grown up. And like typical, I would always say it to my junior guys, it's, the military grows you either into that man or that woman that you need to be, because it's like being on a program where they just kick your butt into gear until you get it or you get out. And I think that the military pretty much set me up for success because I was able to find that purpose. I was able to realize that um, I wasn't just that scared, broken kid anymore, but I was a United States sailor, and it gave me the opportunity and the chance to really become something that I never thought I would ever be without the Navy. So that's kind of how I got into the Navy. That's what got me into there. And I joke around and I tell people it was either I go to jail uh, or I join the Navy, and it was quite almost literally like that. Um, so I joined the military out of Washington State, and I go and I joined a rescue swimmer program. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a rescue swimmer. I wanted to do the cool things, Brian, those things that you
Yeah.
inspiration from, and you're like, yeah, everybody wants to be a Navy SEAL, an operator, just look
Oh
cool
yeah.
and all that stuff, be a fly boy or whatever, you know, whatever that thing is that you want to be. And turns out that I wasn't a very strong swimmer and I didn't know how to hydrate very well. So that combination led me to blacking out while I was swimming and got me dropped from the rescue swimmer program. I'm not a bad swimmer. I qualified um, for um, for my swim qual, but they were looking for an excuse to push people out of the program, and I never reapplied. It was always something that I wanted to do, but I didn't do it. And sometimes things happen for a reason. And the older I get, the more I realize that, hey, like I wouldn't be where I'm at today, which is, doing fairly well. I got a beautiful wife that I've been together with for over 20 years. I have my beautiful children, 8 and 9 years old. I'm retired. I get to be a part of their life. And through the military, I was able to, after a couple years, really figure out how to set myself up for after the military. And that's kind of what led me into doing what I do now with Mil2Vet, talking about that transition piece, talking about setting yourself up for either staying in or getting out, and kind of rediscovering a lot of those things. Because as you know, man, it's it's a hard process getting out, and I don't want to shortcut my story so much. I just want people to understand. You know, uh, I I didn't have anything coming in. Arguably, I was very lucky to start at zero, essentially. Some people coming in, they may not be starting with zero. They may be coming in with, a wife, a kid. They may have like some debt. They may have some student loan stuff. They may not even be a citizen because the military is a great path for those who want to become a citizen to serve our country and become a citizen, which is Brian. I know you've met a couple. Some of them are phenomenal, and that's
Yes.
an amazing opportunity. But I want people to know that I came from nothing, and I'm only here today because of brothers and sisters that served with me and saw me and poured into me and created what you see today.
That's great, dude. Did you happen, I mean, you spent 20 years, so did you start getting wind of like sailors or veterans in general committing suicide, or was that kind of outside of your guys' range? I know it's kind of weird when you're in the military, you're not really thinking about veterans. Yeah, because at some level, I think some people in there are just like, oh, they everybody talk shit about you being overly motivated or this or that and the other, right? So I feel like it's kind of weird how when you're in active duty, there's no really connection to any veteran world. It's your active duty, and you're not even thinking veteran yet, right? You're just more or less thinking about your job. Now, being that you were in a little bit longer, did you have that opportunity to kind of get wind of that kind of stuff so that way you could prepare yourself when you got out to make your, your transition getting out a little bit easier?
So I would have to say, just kind of off the top of mind, when you were just talking about this, Brian, it brought up a memory of the first time I dealt with suicide in the military, with a military member, not a um, not a civilian, because I dealt with this as a family friend of ours. Um, One of their children committed suicide at a very young age,
Mm,
and I don't want to get into too many details, but there was underlying issues. There was a reason why that happened. There was something going on underneath that. It wasn't just uh, well, I'm just gonna disappear off this earth. No, something evil happened to that person, and I I got kind of a basic understanding on that one. But the story that I was just reminded of was when I want to say maybe on 2013 or something like that. I was on the USS Nimitz. I'm an aviation kind of guy. I worked in different aspects of naval aviation maintenance. I worked intermediate level, I worked organizational level, and also dealt with, you know, I dealt with database systems. Essentially, I was a maintenance admin, is what the Marines would equivalent it to. There's a there's an MOS, but I'll tell you right now, as a Navy guy, we don't remember MOSs. We remember rates. I was a AZCS, and my first time dealing with suicide was not actually a veteran. It was actually a service member, a kid, a young Marine that was stationed with VMF 323, and they were on deployment with us on the Nimitz. And the first time that I ever like really experienced the actuality that this is a real thing in um, our service was that young Marine who decided to unalive himself by hang from a rafter of the barracks.
mm,
His
damn.
brothers his brothers found him in the middle of the night, some sleeping only feet away from him.
Wow.
I was part of the um, damage control training team, and what that meant was I trained all the firefighters and all the responders and stuff like that. I was an aviation guy. I'm not a firefighter, but when I showed up to the ship, I really immersed myself into the firefighting spirit. I got highly qualified, and I took my job serious as a trainer.
Yeah,
So
because
that meant,
isn't that kind of a recommendation to be on the ship? Everybody's basically got to learn how to be a firefighter because
yep,
when you're on the ocean and you're fucking on fire, boy, everybody better learn how to fight that fire or you're going down,
yeah, it doesn't matter who
right?
you are. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what position you hold, what title, what rank. You're going to be a firefighter. And I immersed myself in every single technique that I could, and I never limited myself based off of what my job was. I got really good at it to the point where they made me the it's a locker. I was the repair locker one Fox damage control training team leader, which is normally a spot held for like a chief or a senior chief. And I was a first class petty officer at the time. And I took my job so seriously, I would respond to actual casualties to assist with this. So I was one of the first responders to this kid hanging himself. I carried his
Mm.
oxygen bottle, uh, coming down and getting him off the ship. And
Did you guys try to revive him?
yeah, we did get a pulse, but
Mm. It's too late.
yeah, it, it, it's too late. And this kid, 19 years old, he had something happen to him. There's always something evil that happens.
Right.
And the thing is do we let evil win and keep it in? or do we find somebody and talk to them? And after that point, um, on that cruise later on, we lost a couple other sailors, not to suicide, but to some other things. And it really, really showed, hey, it showed me, we're vulnerable. We're flesh, we're blood, we're made up of um, something that could just be torn away and torn apart rather quickly. And really, all that we have out here is each other. So I started, um, I started making sure that I did frequent checks with my guys, and not just do checks. I started. How many Navy guys do you hear mustering early in the morning to go work out? I started a workout routine with my shop. It wasn't optional. I was one of the very few people that would do this with my shop. We would go work out together, and then afterwards we'd be like, "What's on your guys' mind?"
Right.
And we would talk. And that time that we had there was instrumental because not only were we getting our workout on, but we were also spending some time just talking. And then I would set up, you know, I it's a warship, man. There's no place comfortable on a warship.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. There's no real level of comfort on the ship. So I would also try to set up times where we would watch a show. Like I would go find a spot to go watch a movie, like do those kind of things, like and try to make it to where we could connect and talk with each other. And this is for my junior guys. I did this for my junior guys, and um, I also had a fantastic peer group that was also doing very similar things, and we were also doing similar things together. And that right there, that camaraderie, that brotherhood, that opportunity to talk to each other, I think led me to understand a valuable lesson, as well as some of those sailors that have now since become chiefs, officers, and just amazing leaders now. Those guys and we learned that we only have each other in this fight, and that's the only medicine that's going to get us through this.
Right. That's
Um,
something that's good that you guys we're starting to educate them, and now you can see they're growing up, right? And they're still in and now able to take this and carry it on because it's important, man. I think
yeah.
that's one of the elements that we miss while we're in. We're so mission focused, right? We're very mission focused and we don't really think about the people that got to complete the mission as much as we care about the mission.
Oh yeah. And working on the ship is not a very friendly area either. I
Right.
later on, just kind of point an example. I ended up working on the roof of the flight deck for a little while, and one of the most experienced people on there is one of the chief yellow shirts that are up there. That's one of your handlers, your aircraft handlers. They're wearing yellow shirts. Arguably, the chiefs up there are some of your most experienced guys or gals. There was a senior chief that was up there doing her job. One of the most phenomenal senior chiefs I've ran into. She's just a super sharp, squared away all the time, knew her stuff, really respected. She's up there working, managing all of her guys, all the different yellow shirts, all the blue shirts, and purple shirts and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, she's flying down the center of the flight deck, 30,
Mm.
40 feet, because um, just the perfect alignment of a F-35, a F-18, and a prop. All that jet wash, because we were out there. We weren't doing a mission. We were doing carrier training qualifications, and we had a group of F-35s out there with us. And all that jet wash just lined right up, and she
Oh
just
my
flew.
gosh.
And you never know, if you don't keep your head on swivel up there, if it's going to be your turn to take a 35-foot trip down the non-skid of a carrier. She broke her leg and got scratched up really good. We got her down. Um,
Oh my
everybody,
gosh.
I mean, everybody responded that was up there, and everybody that was either working on a jet,
You
working
guys have
on
to wear
on
helmets
the
on
plane.
the flight deck, right?
Yeah, we wear cranials up on the flight deck and float
Yeah.
coats, and you got to wear long sleeves. And man, it could be like 130 degrees up there, and you're sweating your backside off.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of like just puts it in perspective how dangerous a job could be up there and how fragile we really are as humans. But one of the things that was really powerful about that was seeing everybody that was concentrating on either fixing a jet, getting a jet filled up, getting it ready for launch. Everybody stopped what they were doing immediately and took care of the problem that was at hand. They
Hmm.
shut down the engine. They shut down the catapult. It's a training mission, so we we acted accordingly, and we all gathered together to get this shipmate down below deck to get into the um, medical, so that way they could get better. But it just goes to show you our most important thing that we have up on those flight decks, manning those ships, tanks, walking the line, are the people that walk them, those military members that are out there. And we wouldn't be where we're at without the veterans that came before us to create those policies and procedures and get us that new equipment that they never got to see, but we got the benefit of.
Yeah.
Um,
They resulting from their failures of the equipment,
yeah, yeah. So I um I really man I really enjoyed my service, man. I really did. Um, I got I got to I got to miss out on the boat for the first 10 years of my career, which is amazing. I used to joke I'm the sailor that's never seen a ship.
yeah, that is crazy that you didn't have to go do like one of those like 6 month or year long because there's a lot of what was it called, the Westpac and
Yeah,
all that stuff, man.
I mean I met more Marines that had more sea time than, and I I was an expeditionary aviation maintenance guy, so I got to go to places like Afghanistan and um, deal with all that fun stuff. And I also got to go to Germany, which was not bad. That was pretty awesome.
Frankfurt, was it Frankfurt,
Uh,
Germany, or which one? What part
no,
of Germany?
I was up a place called Simbach, Germany, and there's a place called K Town over there in Ramstein.
Oh,
So
sheesh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Germany's a fun place. We got stuck there for a night and or two, and we made the best of it. Let's just say that much.
yeah, you guys are plotting going out to the
A
flight
whole
line to
bunch of
break the aircraft.
Marines, in a hotel was
Yeah, I'm sure
good time.
things did not. Nothing got broke. All the alcohol was safe. There was no cursing, no smoking, no.
And
Yeah,
and the worst
everything
part
was good.
was there was a 03 a.m. formation. It was bad. It was all bad. Uh,
Yeah, I think that the worse situations, the more crazy it gets, the fonder the memory, man.
oh man, I have some real fond memories, believe that. So we were a wild bunch.
Yeah,
Definitely a wild bunch.
yeah. So so first 10 years, sand sailor. I also did a tour in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Oh
That
no
was
shit.
yeah.
It'd be interesting. Was there still a lot of prisoners in there at that point in time, or
So when I went to Cuba, that was 07, 08. No, 08, 09. Sorry, I flip them. Um, man, I went to Afghanistan in 2005 till 2006. No, 2005. Sorry. So 2005. Then again, yeah, in 2006, and then I left in 2007. And then I went to Japan in 2007 with a Mal's unit
Mm.
as a Humvee driver because I showed up there. They're like, "Yeah, we don't need you as a AZ. We need you as a Humvee driver." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I reported a mobile T, got my license, and
Sounds like some real Marine shit. Like, it doesn't matter your job. Just fucking jump in that damn truck.
like, here's your rifle, here's your pistol, here's
Yeah.
your body armor, here's your battle pack. And I'm like, why am I getting a full loadout? You guys realize I'm a paper pusher, right? No, it was definitely one of those moments that they were just handing me like all this equipment and stuff, and then they're like, "Yeah, go become a Humvee driver," and I'm like, "Okay." So I did it. I had fun. I enjoyed it. And then I ended up in Guantanamo Bay shortly after, um, and guarding the same detainees, some of the same detainees that were taking pop shots at us and murdering us in Afghanistan. So it was pretty interesting. There's quite a few detainees there. I can't remember the exact number, but I definitely know it was over a couple hundred.
Still, damn,
Um,
they still have quite a bit then, yeah.
yeah, and this is after that whole entire oh man, what was the Abu Ghraib display where they were stacking up and humiliating.
The army, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
They,
that's
yeah, they definitely just, that actually just they just had, like, a litigation or something on it. I think some of them are just getting out of jail, or
wow.
I've been hearing a little bit more about it lately again. I was like, "Gosh, damn," kinda forgot about it a little bit, and then every once in a while, they pop it out there and just to, shame the
Yeah,
bad part of the military part.
that in my personal opinion, there's no room for that. And
Right.
in my professional opinion, that was very light in comparison to what they do to us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, cutting, heads off with dull blades and,
Do you think the enemy
other
would
things
go
they do.
build a multi-billion-dollar operation to house us and to give us PlayStations and conjugal visits and all sorts of, you know,
Yeah, we're way
things?
dude, we are way more nice. Then you know what's so nice, right? That the enemy wanted to be captured by us while we were in Iraq and all that stuff because they got food and they got water. They were being treated better than they were by their commanders or whatever the hell they were being led by.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so and Gimmo had a influx of people when it was first started because neighbors were turning each other in, and um, over a
Damn, they were
goat a
straight ratting
thousand
each
years
other out,
ago.
man. Hell yeah. Like,
You know,
hey, aren't this motherfucker right here?
I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but like they were turning each other in over feuds that their grandparents had,
Right.
and I get it. Like, yeah, that sucks. Your honor and all that stuff, but the fact is that the enemy would never do this. They they would eliminate us,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. The only way to eradicate something is to stomp it out. Like when I have an infection in one of my flocks, I gotta eliminate the infection out of my flock. How am I going to do that? I'm not going to build another flock and put the infected in there and care for them and pamper them and all that stuff. No, I'm gonna, I'm gonna take care of those who need to be taken care of, and I'm gonna take care of those who need to be taken care of. If you know what I mean. So,
Right. Great way to put it.
yeah, yeah, and the thing is we, this is purely Chris's personal opinion here. We either needed to go into a place like Afghanistan and say, hey, look at Germany, look at Japan. It's either going to take a full occupation or it's going to take a swift hammer and knock everything out and then leave. But we didn't do either one of those. And that's why we're at where we're at today, where a couple $1 billion worth of our equipment's being paraded around the base that we built for them. And that's
Yeah.
really frustrating. And to know we built them we built them an amazing base, by the way. Bases, lots of bases.
We did it for them in Iraq too, though, right? Like we destroyed their towns and their city, then we gave them something better at the end. I mean, we rebuilt their schools. A lot of this stuff doesn't get shown on the media side, right? They just want to show us, blowing shit up and killing people, but they don't want to show that we spend a lot of our resources and our own money, and we dump it into their infrastructures, their communities that we just went in and destroyed
Yeah.
because we're looking for a couple heads, right? And then, for a couple of those heads, we got to give them a whole new buildings and cities and all that stuff. It's kind of crazy what we
Yeah.
do as a country.
So that bombing in the 80s, was it the 80s?
The
The
Beirut
embassy.
one, or which
Yeah,
one? Or
the Beirut bombing. So there's a new book that's being published by, help me out here, famous author, Navy SEAL, wrote wrote the Terminal List. My goodness, I'm blanking right now. Jack Carr. So Jack Carr, sorry, it took me a second. Jack Carr is
I
actually
was going
coming
to be
out with,
way off with the name I was going to throw in. So, all right.
yeah, Jack Carr just he's going to be releasing a book. In fact, by the time this airs, it's definitely released already, and it's actually going over the bombing of Beirut, and it talks about this being kind of the iconical period of when this entire evolution of the us in the Middle East actually started heating up a lot. When they were there in Beirut, they were out there taking care of the people. They were providing dental care to the kids. They were trying to show that, hey, we're not here like to be jackwagons. We're here to help you. And we did the same thing in Afghanistan. I know that we were giving shoes, we were giving food to them, we were giving bicycles. Like, this is like Marine units coming out of their own pocket, like us collecting donations to give stuff to them. And not only what the government was um, putting out there to them as well, which isn't as from the heart as from a Marine's pocketbook, Um, we want to be there to help others. It's kind of what we like to do. We understand, like, we're not a country of um one race, one um
Melting pot.
yeah, we're a melting pot, and we understand the benefits of diversity, and that's what we're all about. We're about helping other people. But there's nothing you could do when there's pure evil that wants nothing to do than to insert their power and their will over everybody that's around them. That's a small population. And the problem with that is that they could hide in plain sight and you can't go after them. And it's the same with Beirut. Beirut, the way that they did that bombing, they were looking for a white Mercedes, and they weren't expecting somebody to essentially do a kamikaze on them.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't read this book yet, but I do plan on reading it. It just literally got released. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure it has something to do with bombing of Beirut. So you
Mm.
guys could take a look at Jack Carr's book. But it's important to understand this history because we're bound to repeat this again.
Unfortunately,
I
because
mean,
we're such a reactive type country, right? We're not very proactive when it comes to things. And then we're behind. We're like kind of behind when it comes to certain things like technology capabilities, things like that. We're Our government kind of keeps us kind of where they want us with a lot of these type of things, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, man.
yeah. So I was listening to the ex. Um, oh man, this reminds me of a conversation I was listening to about the ex CEO of Google. His name elapsed me, but essentially he was talking with a bunch of college students, engineer type, um, Silicon Valley type students,
Hmm.
and he was talking about how us as America, we're actually ahead in quantum computing, um, and that's why there's actually a recent increase in um, you're going to see a big increase in chip production in America and a lot of um, data centric type stuff coming to our country. And that's because we're ahead. The only way to stay ahead is to really dive into it, move chip production out of foreign countries like Taiwan and into American ones. Um,
This is really going to enhance the AI world.
yeah. And this, this conversation it was really enlightening, and I think it's really important for us as veterans and stuff like that, as people who serve this country, to start educating ourselves on what's actually going on around our country. How 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 do we honor those that are no longer here? Because we all gave a sacrifice when we joined the military, and some gave it all. And I think our way to give back to each other is to educate ourselves and to help each other grow our community, help our community grow. I don't want to be known as the number 22. Like I
Right.
don't want I don't
A
want to be known.
statistic.
I don't want to be known as a statistic. And every veteran that I go up to and I tell them, look, you're not going to be a statistic. You're going to be an outlier. You're going to be you're going to be as my kids call it, Sigma. I'm not sure you have young kids in your life yet.
I do. I got my little dude's 7, and then we got 13. We got some
Have
not
you
too young, but
have you heard some of the talks and the words? I'm starting to feel like the old man
I
now.
could, yeah, bro. I'm literally losing track of some of it. I've heard like Riz and things like that. It just, huh?
So
I mean, it's funny because
yeah,
I'm sure, we've reached that point in our life now, right? Where we're like, huh? What the hell does that mean?
yeah. And I was telling my kids, I'm like, hey, you know what Sigma means, right? They're like, oh, it means like cool person. I'm like, all right. So I pulled up Chat GPT and Chat GPT. I'm not sure if you're using it. If you,
Yeah, I do sometimes. I'm not
I,
gonna lie.
I think it's a great tool to use to further
It's
your
good.
learning.
Right. Yeah. I just don't, I try not to get myself in trouble with it though. You know what I mean? Like you can go far with chat and let it do a lot for you.
Yeah, you gotta trust. You can't trust nor you got to verify it all the time. But I
100.
had it define what sigma was, and it's hey, it's a mathematical. It's the 16th position of this. It's the it's sigma is lean six sigma means sorting, organizing, and all that stuff. Right. So, but I was like, well, what does Sigma actually mean? And it means actually an independent person that doesn't rely on others. They're an outlier. They're somebody that is self reliant. And it's really what I've been teaching my kids because I'm raising adults. I look at them as adults.
Yeah. They're
They're
going to
not,
be at the
yeah,
end. the end result is for them to be adults, to get to be an adult.
They're 8 and 9 years old. So,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get to a point here. Um, my thing is I'm raising them to learn how to be self-sufficient. Um, I I take my military career and I take those shortcuts that I learned and I implemented it in their lives. So yeah, I make them do chores. They wake up every morning, they take the garbage out, they clean their room,
Yeah.
they make their bed, they go feed the animals. I haven't fed an animal at all this week because my kids have done it all. My
Perfect.
kids, they feed the farm. I'm telling, I have a farm. I have horses, I have
Nice.
chickens,
Yeah,
I have
man.
pigs, I have dogs, cats. My
Sheesh.
my kids go feed them all, and it's really important to teach these kids to do this kind of stuff, so that way they become more responsible, more independent, and that's our charge as veterans is to raise our kids to become actually functioning adults in our society.
Yeah, sometimes I got to battle mom in that, but because I think for veterans, we're black and white in a lot of ways, right? There's not a lot of gray area for us, and I think for the general person, there's a lot of gray areas, and for us, we're black and white with it, and some people don't understand that, and we're to the point, right? We're not gonna. I feel like I've grown a lot as a veteran from my first two they were young and I was young, I mean they're older now. My daughter, she's in the UC San Diego on her going
Awesome.
on her third year. Actually, she just left back for college today, as a matter of fact, as we're talking about it, and she's starting her third year at UC San Diego. And I have a 18-year-old son, but I started all over again, and I learned a lot from those two, right? Those two
Yeah.
got the Marine dad. They definitely had more of the Marine dad because I was newly removed from being a Marine. So I
Yeah.
was very, you know, "Hey, if you don't hurry up, we could die, type shit.
Oh man. Uh
But
I know.
I just when I saw them grow up and I started hearing them talk about their experience and as having me as their dad, I was able to just kind of own it and talk to them and kind of work through those things. And now I give my 7-year-old a way better, chance and expressing myself. But man, um, that's one thing with us. And I think moms don't get it sometimes, right? Because they love like yeah, I love my kid, but I love my kid so much that I want to make sure they're doing right, and I'm going to hold
Yeah.
them accountable when they're messing up. And if they mess up 1,000 times, we're going to correct them 1,000 times. You don't just say, "Well, today I feel like it, today I don't." No, you got to show them consistency and stuff like that. And I've learned that throughout time.
Yeah. And my chores that I have them do isn't just, work on the farm. Um, I have them sit down in front of a piano and practice piano.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
they, you know, it's important, and these things are super important. I'm very lucky to be able to provide these type of things, and
Right.
um, I
Well, you're
also
giving them
make
opportunity though too, right? Like
yeah,
to expand upon whether they like it or not, right? It's just something they learn. Like they may not like playing the piano one day. They
yeah,
may like playing the guitar some or something else, but they learned about it and it taught them some things. There's so
exactly,
many valuable lessons from every educational type of items out there that we can take on. There's something you can learn from each of it, right?
yeah, and hey, and here's the other thing, like what you were just saying, my kids got the Marine dad, and then my most recent kid is getting the more uh, educated and fatherhood dad. It's all right to be messy at first.
Sure. You just got to learn from it at least and not
Yeah.
continue the mess,
Yeah.
you know.
It's like, oh, you try something,
Well, damn,
you
dude,
try
it's not,
something, you
when you have
fail, and
kids, there's no manual that comes with it,
no,
right?
there's
And
not. There's
and
not.
and you
And every
and you
kid's
think
different.
Yeah, and then you think when you, that's the other thing, they all have different personalities, right? You know, it's like a box of chocolates, man. You never know what the hell you're going to get with each and every one of them. You know, you could want your kid to be some athlete, and he comes out and he's a book geek. No
Yeah.
problem. It's just they didn't grow up to be what you want it to be, and that's
Yeah.
you know.
And forcing them to do something that you want them to do, it's not going to result in a good
And
product.
I hope our generation has learned from that, right? Like I feel like our generation has been the generation of I'll give a fuck. You get out there and go do it, kid.
Yeah.
And we all got the childhood trauma now from all this stuff, right? Like, so, I think for us I don't want to push my kid into something he don't want to do because first off, it's going to end up frustrating me because they're
Yeah.
not going to be out there doing what you want them to do. So you're going to every game, why didn't you freaking catch that gosh damn ball? And
Yeah.
because I went through it a lot as a kid too, right? Like my
Yeah.
dad made me not really like baseball. I'm not
Well,
gonna lie, like because he just
yeah.
ripped my ass up if I struck out. God
Yeah.
forbid I struck out, I would be up there scared as shit. Like, oh my god, I better swing at it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna strike out.
Well, it's like whenever I'm having them do one of their chores, like that's a non-negotiable.
Yep.
It's like, hey, they're like, well, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, well, today I'm going to choose something that I have to do that I'm not going to do today, and I'm going to choose feeding you. And they're like,
It gets
huh? And
their
I'm like,
attention real quick.
and it gets their attention, but it's reminding them there's these things that are non-negotiables that you need to do every day, like put your pants on before you walk out the door. I
And you would
mean,
hope at some point in time, right? It just becomes routine for them, and you don't
yeah,
have to go through that conversation day in
bro,
day out.
they wake up before I do, and they're getting ready before I am. And it's not perfect every single time. And I'm sure the next time we go through a morning routine, it's not going to be perfect, but they try.
Yeah, it's good. That's
They
all I could
actually,
ask them for, right?
but it wasn't easy at first. I'll tell you that.
No, I'm sure, dude. That's the struggle bus, right? You got to
Yeah.
go through that, and that's where I think a lot of parents start to just like tap out, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
they don't want to hear their kid bitch and moan about things, or your kid, whatever you ask them to do, just just goes and does a shit job, and you got to go and do it anyways, and then people just get frustrated. To me, a parent a good parent is someone that goes and takes the time and fights those fights each time, right? And allows it until you don't give up on your child and what you're looking for, because that's where I think a lot of parents just start to throw the flag, like, well, they're just throwing a fit, and then I don't want to have them throw a fit every time, or they just don't do it right. Well, why don't you show them what you want them to do and make them do it 1,000 times until they do it the way you want them to do it. So that way, if they're
Yeah.
going to be a smartass, well, hell, you spend an hour to being a smartass when it only could have took you 5 minutes.
And the other thing is like, you got to pick that one thing that you're going to grow on. Because if you try to take on the entire waterfall of things that they need to learn how to do, and be like, "Oh, I'm going to force them all to do it," and I'm like, hmm, you're gonna drown.
Yeah,
You got to pick one thing and just work on that, and then make that really good, and then move on to the next thing. And like you said, Brian, you gotta be there to fight for them. You're not fighting against them. You're fighting for them.
right.
You're fighting for their ability to become a productive human being. Realize what they actually like. Now, there's a difference between taking your kid and enrolling them in basketball, baseball, football, letting them try all these things. There's a difference between doing that and just saying, this is the sport that you're playing, and that's it. That's all you're doing. And then you get into them and they don't really like it. And then you get even more into them. That not every kid's the same. Not everybody's going to be, because I was a star football player, you must be a star football player.
Yeah,
That's not true. Um, and I wouldn't want my kids to be exactly how I was. Well, personally, they'll never have the same upbringing that I had. fortunately. Um, but I learned little lessons that were in it, and I could control how I teach them those lessons because there's value behind some of the lessons that I learned that I'm trying to instill in my own children. And one of the things is I actually talk to them about when I'm getting upset. And I I may be getting upset, but I remind them that it's not them making me upset. It's actually the fact that um they're not, it's the problem. Like, hey, I'm not mad at you because you don't want to do the dog poop today. I'm mad because you're okay with letting other people step in dog poop.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait a second. Yeah, you're okay with the landscapers coming in here and stepping in dog poop. And then they pick up the stuff and they go out there and pick up the dog poop. I try to communicate as best as I can. Not that I'm upset at them, but I'm upset with what the actions that they're doing is causing. I try to relay it like that, and it's not perfect every time, man. But us as veterans, we get that opportunity to spend more time than when we were in. That's one thing that I learned. One of the most valuable things I learned is I get more time with my kids now. I get to be more involved with my kids now. Um, it's not true for everybody, I know, um, but I'm very blessed in that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's kind of the same thing for me. I was a busy dad when I first got out. I had, I ended up getting it, going into aerospace, got a coaching job, played semi-pro. I was trying to do so much. Then I ended up getting pregnant with my first kid, you
Dang,
know.
you got pregnant, bro?
Well, I mean, yeah, I did. You could tell. I know that didn't sound right. I was waiting. I was like, oh, that didn't
Don't worry,
sound
man. I
very
won't
good.
leave you hanging.
But so yeah, man, got had the first kid, and boy, I mean, everything was just so I had too much on my plate,
Mm,
and that I think I lost focus on being a dad and a good husband, and that's pretty much why the first relationship flop. I wouldn't say 100% it was all me, but I would definitely own up to me trying to do so much because I was like, while I was in, man, I committed my life to the Marine Corps. Now I'm out, I can do everything I want, you know. But I also had a family to think about. It wasn't just me anymore, and that was the hard part, is kind of starting to separate me, and start take away that selfish and say I got kids and it's about their life now, and trying to make them have a good path and stuff like that. Not forgetting my path, but um including their path into my path, right? Versus me just me. And that's a lot of what I did the first go round. So my second go round, my son, who's 7 years old, he when he was a baby, maybe 1 2 years old, I was still working. But after that, bro, I've been disabled since 2018. So his a large portion of his life I've been at home with him. I've been way more involved. I've been able to be a part of his life, take him to school, pick him up from school, do things I didn't get a chance to do with my other kids.
yeah.
So
Yeah. It's those, that process of getting out. You just kind of want to try to do everything at
you really
once.
do, because you were so committed to that, right? And you couldn't do a lot. She's like, oh man, I can do this, I can do that. What?
Yeah.
There's
And
an
then,
opportunity there. Cool.
and then your plate's so full, and then you're wondering why you're going through a crisis.
Yeah,
I think and the transition, transitioning in anything is not easy.
sure.
Um, and there's so many resources out there to help you in your transition, but that in itself could also be a stressor because which resource do I choose?
Yeah, the transition is a very hard part, right? Because especially depending on your MOS while you served, may not always translate to things that when you get out. So you're trying to go get jobs, and maybe you've worked your way up to being an NCO, even a staff NCO, and now you're getting out with zero experience, and you got to start kind of at the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, gosh, damn, man, like I would, I would did this, and this. Well, that's cool. That doesn't really translate to this job, and and then a lot of us start to struggle too and get discouraged because we're going and trying to get these jobs thinking that what we did is great and la da da da. But then when you go to these jobs and they don't look at us like we look at it, right? And then so I think that's where a lot of guys start to get that, damn man, I can't get a job, because one or two people slam the door in their face, and we don't like failure, right? And so once we
Yeah.
get a taste of failure, it could really set us off and to being discouraged, uh, feeling depressed, disconnected. There's just so many different things that start to happen.
Well, the thing is when we're in the military, we knew that if we did so good on our PFT, or we did the proper qualifications, and we did this training here or the schooling here, that we would essentially promote and move on to that next gig. Um, and we've all sat through some kind of selection board of some sort. And the thing is when it comes to the civilian sector, it's not like the military. It's yeah, they say that you need to have this
It's a
degree.
lot different
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah, and then on
when
top
what
of
you're
that,
used to.
your experience isn't looked at like it should be.
Right.
Um, and if you don't have a degree, if you did not prepare and get yourself a degree, you may not be able to get that job because on paper you don't look like you're qualified, even though you've been doing the job for however long you were in.
And most of us probably ain't good at writing resumes either, right?
Yeah,
And plugging out the keywords that even though
yeah,
you could have done a great job, but when you go and explain itself, you're missing out keywords because you don't know how to word things right because you're talking like a military dude and everything's acronyms, you know.
there's a way to go about this. If you take a job description out of like Indeed, or look at the actual job rec, go in there, you pull all that, you put it onto like a Word document, copy paste it, and then you copy and paste your resume, and then you put it all into Chat GPT.
Yeah, I knew you were I already knew you were going here with it.
And that's
It will
where
spit you out something beautiful.
it will,
It
and
will. It
it will
absolutely will.
literally capture all those keywords, all that stuff. But you need to take it, and then you need to put it back into Notebook or into a Word document, and go through and double check it, because it's going to say some crazy things.
Here and there,
Um,
right.
yeah. And if you've ever gone into one of my episode descriptions and you see that there's something kind of crazy in there, it's because Kristen didn't do a very good job at it.
That me self production, man. The me self
Yeah.
production team's messing up.
I'll go after the person who produced it.
Be talking
Go.
to you after the show.
Yeah, I'll be talking to you. No. No, but it's crazy how even that resume thing, and that's why like these programs like ACP and Hiring Heroes and some other organizations are really good to work with somebody and realize that they're only as good as what you put into it. So if you go to these programs expecting them to give you results and you put nothing into it, you're going to get what you put into it. And that's nothing. And some organizations out there are better than other organizations. So don't stop at that first organization that you give a shot to help you out with writing your resume and prepping you for jobs. I went a different route, Brian. I decided to work for myself. I was done working for the man,
It's a nice thing.
and I
But
decided
it's
to
always a
start
good
working
thing.
for myself.
Good, yeah.
And I first started with I did a skill bridge program with a program called Veteran PCS. And what they do is they allow you to um, become a realtor or a mortgage broker, but you get to muster with these guys, and they just kind of help you get an idea of where you want to land. So I got my real estate license, and I quickly realized, actually, no, not quickly. It took me about like 10 months to realize that um, I don't like every aspect of this job. And I was getting upset. I was getting like anxious, and I felt like I was wasting my time. And that's because I was trying too hard to make something happen. I was putting too much pressure on myself to make something happen, something that I didn't really need.
Set the expectations a little high for
I
yourself.
set I set my expectations too high, man. I thought I was going to come out there swinging. I was a senior chief in the freaking Navy, man. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hot shit.
uh,
It took me some time to realize, Chris, you just need to be gracious with yourself and realize that you're still learning. You are that boot right now. Chris, you are a boot realtor. You're not a badass realtor. You're a boot. And this
we
is
want
the
that overnight instant gratification, though, don't we?
right. And here's the thing, Brian. I I've done more deals than the national average, and I still like I have national average is 2 deals per realtor. That's the national average. I'm
Two
at
deals a
7
month or 2 deals
a year.
a
Do you know
year?
do you know that you can't
Wow.
even survive off of that?
No shit. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, boy, you better be selling some $1 billion homes.
Yeah, but I've done 7,
Wow.
um, and I wanted to do more.
Well, yeah,
We all wanna do more,
sure.
but I wasn't being realistic with myself. And that's one thing that I think that us as veterans is we're used to that big support system, and if you are a badass in your job and you get out, it's kind of learning again you're not that you're not that badass anymore,
Yeah, right.
and you kind of need to unlearn almost everything that you learned, um, because you're no longer that sergeant major, you're no longer that commander, you're no longer um, that
Senior staff NCO.
yeah, that
Yeah.
staff sergeant, NCO, whatever it was. You're no longer that. You're just Chris. You're just Brian.
Yep.
You're just another dude or another dudette just trying to make it out there, and make ends meet. And like I said, I didn't need to do that job, and I put all this pressure on myself, and it was affecting the way that I treated my family
Yeah.
because I wasn't meeting these high expectations that I had. I felt like a failure. And you know what a failure looks like, right? It could look like you.
Yeah.
And just understanding that you're not a failure and that you need to have some grace with yourself is something that I think that everybody that comes out of the service needs to kind of start understanding. Got to
Yeah.
find that.
It's hard, man, because you
Yeah.
want to hold yourself to a different standard, right? And you simply quickly realize you do become just another face in the crowd, right? They could give two shits. You could have been over there kicking ass in the Middle East and did all these great things. Hey, you got a fucking chest full of awards, but you go
Making
walking
Chester,
in to a job, you ain't wearing that no more. You're
yeah,
just a
make a Chester
complete,
Polly blush.
you go and then go into a place and then no one knows who you were, right? And you're
Yeah.
now and here you are, you did maybe 20 years in service, right? But now you're like the low guy on the totem pole. Here
Yeah.
you are going into a job, and sometimes you can get these jobs where you can find yourself in the maybe not having to start too much at the very bottom, but there are a lot of those places where these guys really get set their place, and that's sometimes hard to swallow for a lot of people, right? Because their standards, their expectations are beyond the scope of what
Yeah.
reality is.
Yeah. And the sooner the sooner I started living the 1%, um, that 1% mantra that I've really been on board with is improve whatever you're doing by 1%. And I
Yeah.
was taking that step with Mil2Vet, but I wasn't taking that step with my professional job. And I think that it really did uh, mess me up because I just um, felt like a failure. Man, I served 20 years in the military. I have I have 7 rental properties. Well, 7 doors uh, out of 3 rental properties. I have a horse boarding facility. I I don't I don't need to go do this other venture. It's that I want to do so well at it because I believe in it and it's something that just really makes sense to me that I was putting all this negative energy on myself, and I don't think I could talk um, enough on this subject is that we put a lot of negative stuff on ourselves, and it was making me start to think in negative ways, and my negative talk was coming back, and that's one of the things that I was really working on was stopping my negative talk. And I know, like, you can say it till you're blue in the face, and people that haven't served don't understand what that's like. But you have that RDC, that boot camp guy in the back of your head going, "Why aren't you trying harder? Let's go. Pick it up. Pick up that phone. Make another phone call. What are you doing? Why are you so behind? Why when I look at your screen it's all red? Why are you not there? Why are you not selling more homes? Like why? Like what are you doing? Why are you being procrastinator today? Don't you have some phone calls to go make?" Like, and all this negative talk that I was putting on myself, it really is something that I realize that it's predominant in our veteran community, and that's where we need to realize that we need some grace for ourselves, and we also need to talk about this.
Right.
Need somebody to talk to about it, and nobody on my team, nobody in the real estate world has ever called me a failure. The only person that puts this stuff on me is me.
Yeah. Yep. That's and we are our biggest enemies a lot of times, right? So we can really hinder ourselves from being the best versions of ourselves too, by doing limiting ourselves. But you know, you mentioned Mil2Vet. Let's go ahead and kind of switch into Mil2Vet a little bit and kind of talk about what how Mil2Vet started. What was the vision for that? Tell us, what you guys do and then where you plan on going with it.
So, when I retired, it wasn't necessarily under conditions that I wanted to retire. I had the legs, the ability. Okay, I had the legs, I had the skill, I had the knowledge, I had the evaluations, I had everything going for me to be make to make it even further in the career of the Navy. Um, but my medical conditions started rearing their ugly head, and it got me disqualified from being in Japan, which made me geo batch away from my family. Which, if you know anything about me, I will tell you till I'm blue in my face. I'm here solely for my family. So being a geo bachelor was not something that I would
Mm.
choose, um, which added its own extra stressors. And don't get me wrong, like when a deployment happens, my mind is in the game. I'm deployed. I spent over 18 years either in deployable or debt status. So I was always gone. 18 years out of 20, always gone. My last shore duty, always gone. Like I was always gone.
Yeah.
I would volunteer for extra duties. I would take on those extra tasks, and I loved the military. I really did. I loved being a senior chief, and I was hoping to make mass chief. Um, I wasn't ready to go. So when they kicked me out of Japan, and then they put me into a limited duty command where there was a whole bunch of other limited duty personnel or med board personnel. It was like getting kicked in the gut over and over again because that's like the place where all the misfit toys end up. It's like that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. And I
Understood.
I checked into the command, and the first day I sat in that broom closet or janitor's closet, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't that small, but it was that feeling. They stuck us in a condemned building away from everybody else. We were within an organizational command that was operational for training aircrew personnel, which is ridiculous, by the way, because that is why would you put all your medical personnel that have appointments next to all these operational people that are trying to make a job happen, and they're seeing these people walk out of the gate back and forth all the time going to medical appointments. They're like, well, like I have to work but this guy doesn't. So there was a lot of negativity, a lot of people dealing with their own medical conditions. Like it's a negative, um, and I know even today it's a negative remark, or it's negative thoughts towards anybody that's in a medical status. Like they're looked at less.
Mm. Hmm.
And when I walked in there, I saw all the darkness, I saw all that, and I was like, I'm not going to be a part of this. So I walked into the skipper's office. I walked into my brother, Jose Pena. He was a command mass chief. I walked in there. I walked in and I told him, look, I may not be able to do the same job because of some of the medical things I have going on in my medical appointments and um, all that. I may not be as reliable in that job field, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to be helping these people that are going through their hardest time. So what I did was I set out to find veteran resources. I set out to find other resources that would help people through the transition, and I started hosting classes inside the command, a place where these outside resources, these community resources, could come in and talk about how they help people with transitioning out of the military. It was organizations that offered college, like college or financial, um, like substitution for whatever you need, like organizations that helped you with your VA processing. I had the VA there to talk to you about how to find a VSO and how to do your BDD and what to
Nice.
expect during this process. I brought in classes that was relevant to those who were retiring. I brought in classes that were relevant to somebody that was getting out at 4 years, and I made it available to everybody inside the command, and then eventually it spread out to the entire flight line.
That's outstanding.
And so this program is actually captured by one of my mentors, Maurice Wilson, who runs the San Diego's Veterans Coalition. He's their president, and he runs a program called Reboot out of San Diego, where it pretty much is like reverse boot camp for service members getting out. It helps you repurpose, rebrand, and re-identify yourself. And what what he did was he created a program called Star, and it's a program that helps those medical personnel go and find these resources and educates them on it and guides them through that process, because that's that's where our higher um, that's where our higher percentages of incarceration, homelessness, um, suicide tendencies, criminal behavior will come out of. It's places of where there's darkness and they feel like there's no other option. So that's kind of how it started. Well, I was staying with Yogi, and I hate complaining about things without having a problem. It's a curse and a blessing at the same time, by the way, Brian, when you complain about something. Um, and you have a solution. And I had a solution in my hand about this transition process and how TAPS was like a fire hydrant. And there's too much information being put out and not enough ways to understand like what are my actual benefits, what are these resources that are out there, which one should I choose. And that's where I was talking to Yogi, and I felt like it was a waste of my time if I didn't document it. And so we sat down and we're like, well, let's create a podcast called Mil2Vet. I had another podcast called Chart Your Fi. It's where I talked about becoming financially independent. So podcasting was just like an easy thing for me to call it. It's on multiple platforms now, and we have over 100 veterans that have come on and shared their story. And it's mainly talking about the transition and then bringing these veteran resources on and having them share about what they do to help the veteran population. Now, the show is mainly comprises of veterans sharing their experiences, but our target audience is the service members that are about to go through the transition.
Hmm.
So we talk about that. So that way, when you get out, if you listen to just even a couple episodes of Mil2Vet, you'll have an idea of what there is out there that could really help speedline you to these programs. Like you need a mentor. Well, Veterati just sunsetted, unfortunately, which was a really good mentorship program. But you have ACP, which has some massive backing, and that's American Corporate Partnerships. And that is a veteran program that will partner you up with a mentor that is an expert in their field.
Wow.
You also have organizations like 4Block that will help you get your continued education and help you even place in some jobs. That's also another great mentorship program. There's so many different resources out there, Brian.
Yes, yes. I'm
Uh,
learning that and I only learned it because of podcasting, to be honest with you, and just being able to continuously talk and talk and talk, right? And that's why it's great that we do got, your podcast and a lot of our brothers and sisters out there that are trying to get the word out there now, because man, there's kind of a community for everybody. If you like to ride horses or jump out of planes, surf. There's a group pretty much for anybody. And if hey, check it out. If there's not one, create one. You know what I mean? And you'll be damn shocked.
yeah, yeah, and like you were saying at the beginning, you're like, "Hey, have you ever tried Guitars for Heroes?" And I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Man, it's a great program. They help you either learn or get really good at guitar, and at the end of it, you get a guitar to commemorate your graduation from that, and that's pretty cool. And this is the thing: you don't know what you know. The only way that you're going to figure out is actually, yeah, Guitar for Vets. Um, the only way that you're going to figure it out is if you get out there and you start networking with brothers and sisters that have gone out there and started their transition before you. And it's I want people to understand. I say this all the time. I don't dog your chain of command or active duty personnel, but when you go up to each other and you ask them about what should I do for my transition out of the military, what am I going to do when I get out of the military? When you talk to another service member, it's like an alcoholic asking another alcoholic, "How do I become sober?" Well, you just stop drinking.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
No, you got to replace habits. You got to attend meetings. You need to talk about it. You need to set things in front of you that are going to prevent you from doing those same old behaviors. Because when you get out, you're going to have to really remember we were incredibly privileged to serve in the United States military. The United States military is an organization that pretty much set you up for success. It has a clear path on how to promote. It doesn't matter what you look like, how you put your pants on in the morning. If you show up in the proper uniform on time and you do a job without being a without being an asshat, you'll be all right. You could promote. It's easy, super easy. But you're not going to have that easy button anymore. Getting out of the military, and I know some people are like, my career wasn't that easy. I'm like, I'm not saying it was easy, but it was easy. We had hard days. You had
Right.
hard moments, but it was easy.
Yeah. In
And
retrospect.
and getting out, it's not easy. You need to talk to the
Mm,
people that have been out there that could give you that clear perspective and know like the ins and outs.
yep.
Know the ins and outs, and then also inspires you to think outside of the box. A lot of people confine themselves to their MOS, to the job that they were doing before they got out. They think, well, I am a electrician, so therefore I need to be electrician. That's not true. You could totally start something new. You could repurpose yourself. You could re-identify yourself. You could rebrand yourself. You do not have to go out there and be that person who goes back into, if you were in naval aviation, you don't have to go into an aviation job. You don't need to do that. Now, if you would like to do that and you make that decision, that's cool. Do it. Hell yeah. You're probably going to be a lot better than the rest of those guys that were not in the military. But remember, you're still not anything. You're still starting from the bottom and you're going to be working for a person that's younger and underqualified. It's it's just that's
They
just
gonna
how it
piss you
is.
off.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And even when you work for yourself, you're still going to be working for someone that you may not agree with, you may not get along with, but you still need to do the job. And I get it. We have that understanding being in the military. We have that ability to work with diverse crowds and stuff like that. But they don't have that common denominator of, oh, they're a marine. They're a soldier, they're a sailor. Um that's removed. Yeah, you can be like, oh, they're an American. That it's not the same, you know.
100%. Yeah, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything that you want to touch on that maybe we didn't get to touch on and before we head out of here?
Nah, man, it looks like the time has really passed by pretty quickly, Brian. I really do appreciate everything that you do on here for our community. I love how your mentality is hey, every day's a Saturday, especially when you're Brian Roof.
That's right, brother. Uh, man, I really it's been a pleasure though getting to know you, bro, and I'm glad that we've got to meet and you know uh just continue down the path of working together. Um, we just save one life at a time, bro, and we can do a big difference in our community and also try to soften the blow for a lot of these guys and gals getting out, and hey, you don't have to go through as much heartache and shit that we all went through. uh Try to learn, because there's a lot more education out there now than there ever has been before, right? But you got to go seek it and look for it. It's not always going to come right to you as well. So, but we're trying to put it in everybody's face as much as we can, man. So
Yeah.
that way you can't look away from it. It's just too much there, you
Hey,
know.
hey, Brian.
Yeah.
So I want everybody out there to realize this, that um, we as veterans have an ability that the military service members don't. And I think that we need to keep this in mind. We get to share our experiences, make sure to share those positive ones,
Yep.
because we need more military members to join.
Yep.
The it's a fact that the only branch that's actually meeting its quotas is the Marines. Congratulations. Um, so we need to highlight the positivity that we got out of our service, because it can be a great opportunity for
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And
when you're handed lemons, it's what you do with your lemons, right?
exactly. And I know that I may paint sometimes a negative picture on some of the service aspects, but I want people to understand that we're only as good as the people that come in after us. That's a true
100%.
testament of
Yep.
your legacy.
That's it, bro. Couldn't have said it better, honestly. Well, Chris, once again, brother, I appreciate you coming on, talking about and sharing all your experiences. I'm sure I'll have you back on again. We definitely can talk a lot about all the things that are going on in the community. It's also a great pleasure to sit on the tip of the spear with you as well. We got some really great veteran roundtable conversations going on, which is really good. So, for a lot of you out there tuning in, if you ever can go check out the tip of the spear, it's the last Wednesday of every month, and it's really a great conversation with vets. But once again, Chris, you have an amazing day out there, brother, and we'll stay in touch. And thanks once again for coming on, bro.
Yeah, brother. All right. See you guys later.
See you, brother. All right, friends and fam. Well, that's going to go ahead and rock it out for interview 99. Man, we are just going through it, huh? 100. I'm still shocked. I can't wait though to keep on moving. We're almost going to be finishing off here with season 2. The last episode or interview that we'll be launching will be on Veterans Day, so like the second week in November. And then we'll get it rocking again like we usually do, January 9th, and keep it going. But in the meanwhile, guys, go check out the website, EDAS-USMCVet.com. You can check out all the previous episodes, all the newest ones, and things that are going on. But I hope you guys are having an amazing day out there. Remember how I say, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Till next time, we'll see you guys.